44 if you round the president's total up there, and then you go back in time here again, 51. So if this holds, and it's a big if, Hillary Clinton at 51, Joe Biden at 55, if that's exactly what Joe Biden needs to do. Run a little stronger than Hillary Clinton. Take
a look at the state right now. Biden has just taken the lead with 22% of the estimated vote now. They do it quickly in Florida. Very impressive. Broward County, that's Fort Lauderdale. It has now come in. Look at this in Broward County. Let's take a look at Broward County right now.
Sorry, I was trying to get you the full totals there. Welcome to Roller Coaster Florida again. 12,000 there, 75%. It's only 16% of the vote in. Again, this is the second largest county in the state, so we're going to get a lot of votes out of here, and Democrats need them. Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, 1, 2, 3, as we go through them here.
We got a lot going on in Florida. We're standing by for another round of crucial closings. The battleground states of North Carolina and Ohio are up for grabs just minutes from now. Our special coverage of Election Night in America continues right after this.
The Dangote Petroleum Refinery is
our #1 news destination.
New India is dynamic, bold, and assertive. There will be fights, debates, and differences. But when it comes to my country, there can be no compromise. India will always come first. The right stand.
The biggest names in the business.
प्रभु राम सबके हैं और सब में राम है.
We are celebrating the start of the Ram Mandir, but we are celebrating the ethos of India.
This should be a beginning. It should be a fuel to create a better India.
I don't see today anything which can benefit only one community.
When they speak,
it is a major victory for democracy in India.
135 करोड़ लोगों की भावनाएं साकार हो रही हैं.
राम मंदिर बनाने के साथ-साथ राम राज्य इस राष्ट्र में लाने के लिए लगाऊंगा.
They only speak to one channel.
We have promises that we made that have to be kept, and I will leave no stone unturned to live up to those promises.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination.
News is about stories. Not about shouting matches or talking heads. We're putting the news back where it belongs. No debates, no bias, just the news. Helping you cut through the clutter. Brass tacks.
The biggest names in the business.
We've got a threat on the northern side. So therefore, we have to get a weapon system fully integrated to do multiple missions altogether.
The regional parties as well as the national parties have to now come up with new kind of politics.
When they speak,
you can't just shoot something into the air and say we're going to double without saying this is how we're going to get there. And that's what's missing in this document.
They only speak to one channel.
When I was trying to do my transition back to films, and it was like, you stay in television, you don't come, this is our territory, and we won't let you succeed.
Attempt that has been made to suppress the investigation.
Maybe it's better this case is handled by the CBI.
I want to know what happened with Sushant, that's it.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination. The biggest names in the business.
It's important to look at this not just in the context of India-Chinese relations, but as part of the pattern of Chinese behavior on its periphery.
Top doctors.
The type of responses that we're seeing are the antibodies which bind to the virus and neutralize it so it can't infect cells.
Even though there has been an immune response generated by this vaccine, we have to test whether or not it will, in fact, protect us against the virus.
When they speak,
we get the vaccine as citizens of India, December and first quarter of 2021.
They only speak to one channel.
Look at the kind of coverage a Taimur gets today. I don't get that much of coverage.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination. The biggest names in the business.
Sushant, you had all the potential to become something more than Shah Rukh Khan in Bollywood. Alas, you are no more.
We have taken only legal action which has been confirmed by Honorable Supreme Court.
top doctors.
And it's not a race who gets a vaccine first. It's about who gets a vaccine that can control the virus and actually manage.
Indiana, Biden so far has 0. You need 270 to be elected president of the United States. We have a key race alert right now. Take a look at this, see what's going on. In Florida right now, 35, more than a third of the vote is now, the estimated vote is now in. Biden has a lead of nearly 100,000 right now, 50.7% to Trump's 48.4%. 35% of the estimated vote, once again, is in 29 electoral votes. Look at Georgia right now, very early. Only 2% of the estimated vote is in, but Biden is ahead by almost 32,000 votes, 61.8% to 37% in Georgia, 16 electoral votes at stake. In New Hampshire, less than 1%, very, very early right now, but Biden is ahead by about 2,300 votes, 72.2% to 27.8% for electoral votes in New Hampshire. In Vermont, also very, very early. Biden is ahead only by about 610 votes. Less than 1% of the estimated vote is in, 62.7% to 37.3%. 3 more states right now. Let's take a look at Virginia. 13 electoral votes, very, very early. Trump is ahead of Biden by about 3,000 votes, 69% to 30% for Biden. Very early in Virginia. Also very early in South Carolina. Trump is ahead there by almost 700 votes, 63.3% to 36.7%. And Trump is also ahead in Kentucky. But 15% of the estimated vote in Kentucky is now in. Trump is ahead by about 35,000 votes, 54.1% to 44.3% from Biden. Let's go over to John King over at the Magic Wall. Let's take a look at the big picture first, and then I want to focus in on Florida, Florida, Florida.
The big picture is the question of the night. Can Joe Biden flip states that were Donald Trump states in 2016? Can Joe Biden flip them? Well, that would be a flip. Again, it's early. That would be a flip. Again, it's early. The president right now leading in Virginia, but it's a very early count. If the president could pull off that, that would be a dramatic story. We expect Joe Biden to win Virginia. It's very early and light in the votes. But these would be 2 big ones right there. New Hampshire and Vermont we expect to stay. Kentucky and Indiana. South Carolina is closer than we thought. But at the moment, very early. Everybody needs to be careful about this, but at the moment, this is what Joe Biden wants to do. He flips these states here. We know we might have to wait, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. If they're close, we might have to wait, especially on Pennsylvania. That could be a day or 3. However, if Joe Biden wins that, he'll rest comfortably waiting for that. So let's take a look at Florida as we go through it. Again, this one is always a roller coaster. So what you see now doesn't mean the lead won't change. When you were here last time, Wolf, it changed as we were speaking. But right now, Joe Biden at 50%, Donald Trump at 49 when you round up. 62,394 difference in a giant state where both candidates got more than 4.5 million votes last time. So we're going to be at this a while. But if you're the Biden campaign, you're looking at this map, number one, you're winning Hillsborough County, which is Tampa. You like that. You're winning Pinellas County, which is St. Pete. You like that. That's where you want to be. This is how you finish. You finish your race in Florida across the I-4 corridor. You get started, if you're a Democrat, by winning down here. And if you're Joe Biden, and we'll say this, as we're early in the count, this is somewhat concerning. But it could be the quirks of 2020. Donald Trump thinks he can do better down here with Cubans, with other Latino votes, especially Latino men. We'll see if that's the case. The Democrats were worried about African Americans in Miami-Dade County. We'll see if that's the case. 84% in right now, 54 to 45. If you go back in time, this was a much bigger win for Hillary Clinton. Right, 64% if you round up to 34%. So this is something to watch. The Democrats, this is their basket where they need to run it up. So we'll see. And if you don't run it up here, you need to offset it somewhere else. That's one of the trade-offs in this campaign. We know Trump may perform better among African Americans, especially among Latino men. Joe Biden's performing better with white, blue-collar workers and with senior citizens. So we're going to go through the trade-offs throughout the night. But this right now, if you come back to 2020, Joe Biden would like that to be a little higher. We're at 84% right now. We believe most of this is Election Day voting, today voting here. So we're waiting for early vote as well. That might help Joe Biden. If Democrats disproportionately banked early in Miami-Dade, we'll see as we go through. You move up to Broward. This is more what Joe Biden wants it to look like. But again, you see that at 16% right there, 75%. You go back for the comparison, 66%. So he's overperforming at the moment Hillary Clinton by percentage.
Trump just took the lead in Florida if he goes statewide.
So you pull back out. And again, this is going to be a roller coaster by 28,000 votes, right? And so this is what we're going to do. And what's happening? This is again, trademark for this president. Look at the smaller counties, right? You see all that filling in red? Not a lot of people live here. If you look at it, it's 184 to 83 there. You come over here, 584 to 207, you think at home, well, that's only a few votes. When you have 10, 15, 20 counties, and you're doing that, 200 here, 20 there, 1,000 there, that's how Donald Trump gets his math in a lot of states. with these smaller counties like this. Interesting,
look at this,
though.
John, 41% of the estimated vote in Florida is now in. Look at how close it is.
Florida's close. That is not breaking news. That part is not breaking news. But it's incredible because, just as you were here last time it flipped, you were here this time it flipped. We expect Florida to flip. So you're looking at key things. Number one, for the president, that Collier County is coming in for Trump. That's a good thing for the president. That's what he needs. The southwest part of the state tends to be more conservative, 77%, but look how low we are here. So we got a long way to go here. We're just a couple hundred votes, 300 votes and some change there. So see if that holds up for the president right here. But you pull up right here. But I just want to come up here. This would be a huge deal. This would be a huge deal. Duval County is Jacksonville, up here in the top part of the state. President tends to win once you get out of the urban areas. But this is, again, one of the fast-changing areas all across America. But in the Sun Belt states like Florida, you have the city and the suburbs around it, 75%. You see Joe Biden at 54%, the president at 45% if you round up. This was a Trump win, just barely. But Donald Trump narrowly carried the suburbs 4 years ago. He's expected to lose the suburbs this time. By how much could determine who wins the presidency tonight. So if you watch Duval County right here, it's the 7th largest county in Florida. That edge for Joe Biden, we always think about down here is critical for the Democrats, up here critical for the Republicans.
Let's not forget, John, in the
up to 67,000.
The Central Time Zone, they're not going to close until the top of the hour.
Right.
The Eastern Time Zone in Florida, they've closed.
Right, and so again, if you look across, just watch across here. They're still voting out by Pensacola and on the Panhandle. So let me just go back and show you, just to remind you, all these smaller counties, you're going to see a lot of red, right? That is the key for the president. Again, they're not very populist, but when you add up one, then another, then another, then another, you get the votes to offset some of this. It takes time, which is why Florida sometimes roller coasters through the night. But look at...
I see Palm Beach County is now in...
look at this. That's 2016. You do see this, though. Palm Beach County is in right now. But look, this is 91 to 28. Yeah. We have a long way to go in Palm Beach. But this is the quirks of the map. When you're watching at home, you see this county red. If you're a Democrat, you panic, which is why we need to visit it.
Go back to Miami-Dade.
Remind you that we're very early in this count here. And so let me take the lines away so you're not distracted. But if that stays blue, that's a big deal for Democrats. If that stays blue, it's a big deal for Democrats. You come back down to Miami-Dade. Again, if you're in the Biden campaign, you want it to be better than that, right? Doesn't mean it's game over, but it means if you're not getting it here, you better make it up somewhere else. And we'll watch the rest of this vote come in. Again, if there's a lot of early votes to come in, these numbers could change dramatically.
Because 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton did a lot better in Miami-Dade County.
She did 64%. And again, part of it's the percentage. That's one thing you look at. The other thing you look at, especially because we expect turnout to be up this year, sometimes that helps you, sometimes that helps you more. 624. See, in Miami-Dade 4 years ago, the president got 334,000 if you round that up by that one. So you come back here, remember 624 and 333, and you see the president right now already has a significant 120,000 more votes out of Miami-Dade than he did 4 years ago. Now, is that just because turnout is up everywhere, or is he making inroads with the Democratic constituency in Miami-Dade? That is what we'll learn as we go deeper into the night. But if there's Joe Biden right now, if you're worried about anything in Florida, you're worried about that you're winning Miami-Dade, but not by the margins that you wanted. Still, though, 74,000 votes with a long way to go. And again, this is blue at the moment. I mean, red at the moment. We don't expect it to stay that way, but we'll see as we count them. And again, the key part for me, here we go. Orange County has filled in 700 votes and change there. So it doesn't matter. This has to be blue at the end of the night. If that stays red, Joe Biden's not going to win Florida. But it's very early on as we go through. And again, as you get real votes, 83% here. This could be critical here. Osceola County here, you come through, 61%. Again, you're looking for math, especially if you're Joe Biden and you're not getting what you wanted out of Miami-Dade. You need to make up for it somewhere else. So you're looking here, 50,000, 85,000 4 years ago. You come back in now. Joe Biden right now about the same, a little below where Hillary Clinton was. We're still waiting for some votes there. This is what we're going to have to do. Florida gets so competitive. You go through county by county. You match up the math to 4 years ago. You see how much turnout is up this year compared to then, and you average it all out.
50% of the vote in Florida is now in. Trump is ahead by about 74,000 votes, 50.2% to 48.9%. Now he's up by 91,500 votes, 51%. Florida is very fast. The numbers are coming in quickly. Let's look at Georgia right now.
So you move up, and you see Georgia. It's not often you see Georgia blue. And again, you see a lot of red, and yet Georgia is blue because right now Joe Biden is winning. And this one here, this is Fulton County where Atlanta is. We don't have any votes yet. But then you move here to Cobb County to the north. And again, this could be the story of the night. I emphasize could be because we're early. But you look at right here, it's only 27% of the vote in, 63 to 35 in Cobb County. This is the suburbs to the northwest of Atlanta. Used to be Republican country. Hillary Clinton won it last time, but just barely, right? 49 to 47. So this is what we're going to watch throughout the night. Especially, suburbs are growing. Suburbs are where the people are. Suburbs is where you get your math. Especially if you're a Democrat, and you know Donald Trump's going to run it up in all these smaller rural counties. As you see, this is 2016. You come up to 2020, you're starting to see the same repeat of that, right? You see the president, that's not a huge margin there. We'll see how it goes. But in these smaller rural counties, the president tends to run it up. You move up here, let's just see 83% in a county like that. And again, it's 3,000 plus, 4,000 plus votes when you're done, said and done. That's what Trump does to offset the urban areas and the close-in suburbs. So one of the tests tonight, let's drop down a little bit more to Henry County, 59% there, come back in time. 50%, 51% if you round up. So those are the things you're looking for, especially in these places where Joe Biden's performance in the suburbs is absolutely critical. He needs African-American turnout to be up in Atlanta, in Augusta, in Columbus, in Savannah, and he needs, when you get into the suburbs, and the Democrats do very well in the close-in suburbs, more and more increasingly in the Trump age, they've been moving out into the outer rings of the suburbs, out to the exurban areas. So you watch this play out here. You look 16,000 votes ahead there in the state of Georgia. Let's take a peek in South Carolina. The president winning quite handily here so far, but that's very preliminary in the vote. One of the things we'll watch throughout the night, are the president's margins about the same, or do they shrink even in the places he wins? Just want to peek one more time at Florida as we go here. Florida 2020. Welcome back to the roller coaster. Joe Biden has pulled ahead by 7,784 votes in the state of Florida. But again, 49.6, 49.5. We're early in the night. Florida is as close as it gets, which is pretty remarkable. Let's just take a closer look at what we're seeing here. Palm Beach turned blue. We thought it would, and a big vote dump to get it blue. That's why the state changed, right? We had just a few hundred votes in Palm Beach a few moments ago, and the president was leading. Right now, Wolf, the Florida vote coming in as Joe Biden would like it, as we wish, but we will keep counting.
We certainly will. Florida's emerging as a major, major fight that's going on right now. We're coming up on another critical round of poll closings in the Biden-Trump presidential race just moments from now. That's when most polls will close in North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. Together, those states account for 38 of the 270 electoral votes needed to win the White House. All right, we got a key race alert right now. Too early to call in these states, including in Ohio. Too early to call in Ohio. 18 electoral votes in Ohio. Too early to call. Too early to call in North Carolina as well. 15 electoral votes in North Carolina. Too early to call. West Virginia, 5 electoral votes. Too early to call in West Virginia right now. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map where it stands right now. It still remains the same. 11 Electoral College votes for Trump, Indiana. 0 so far for Biden. 270 needed to win the presidency. Let's get a key race alert right now. All right, in Florida right now, let's start. 29 electoral votes. Donald Trump has a narrow lead right now with 59% of the estimated vote is in. Look at how close it is. Got a lead of about 25,000 votes, 49.7% to 49.4%. This is a must-win for Trump. He must win Florida. If Biden were to win Florida, it would be very, very difficult for Trump to get reelected. We're watching Florida so closely. In Virginia right now, very, very early. Only 2% of the estimated vote is in. Trump is ahead by about 33,000 votes, 65.4% to 32.9%. In South Carolina, also very, very early. Trump is ahead 70.4% to 29.6%. In Kentucky, 18% of the vote is in. Trump is ahead by 75,000 votes, 58% to 40.5%. 3 more states right now. Let's take a look.
Very good morning to all of you. It's the race to the 270 mark. Will it be Donald Trump or will it be Joe Biden going to the White House? Well, it's the final election day in America. Americans are not just casting their ballot in this last-minute voting at the moment that's going on, but counting is also on. And at the moment, we do have results for at least one state of Indiana, which is already out, as you can see here behind me. That's marked in red. The rest of the states that have been marked in yellow are all swing states. These are going to really be the important states that are going to determine the fate of Donald Trump or Joe Biden. So after this result that has come in from Indiana, this is where the two contestants lie. 45% popular votes for Joe Biden, 54% popular votes there for Donald Trump, 11 electoral votes for Donald Trump, and at the moment, no electoral votes in favor of Joe Biden. But that's only because the result for one single state, Indiana, has been announced. The rest of the states' counting is still continuing. From what we are getting at the moment, in one crucial state of Florida, Joe Biden has taken a slight marginal lead there. Remember, this is one of the important states, Florida. It's one of the swing states, and last time around with the 29 electoral votes, this was one of the crucial states for Donald Trump. It had turned red, and because of this, Donald Trump was able to make his way into the White House, beating Hillary Clinton. At the moment, what is being called a consequential election, a historic election in America. People are still going out there and voting. Last-minute attempts are being made to get voters out there at the polling booths and cast their ballot. In fact, Kamala Harris, who's running for vice president, who's the running mate of Joe Biden, put out a tweet as well asking people to go out, vote, and if they face any problems, to call the hotline numbers that are available to every American to seek help and reach out in case they're not able to cast their ballot. Early voting has been going on for weeks now. Early voting stopped in many of the states just ahead of the final day of voting. It is largely believed that early voters are Democrats. I mean, this is the analysis of those on the ground, and that those who are voting today are largely Republicans. But of course, things could be changing. We've seen a record number of people coming out and voting in Texas. In fact, all records have been broken as far as the voting is concerned. So some analysts say the large number of people who are coming out and voting are in fact ones who are seeking change. We're getting some updates now that are coming in live from CNN. Pointing out, President Trump will win Indiana. That's what CNN projections are now showing. There are 11 electoral votes at stake in Indiana. It takes 270 electoral votes to win the presidential election because there are 538 total electoral votes in the 50 states, and they are split up in states according to their population. Now, at the moment, the projections by CNN indicate that Indiana will be going to Donald Trump with 11 electoral votes. So at the moment, only results in one state really have been declared, apart from what we saw in one small area of New Hampshire where all the votes had gone to Joe Biden. But of course, the entire state has to be counted first, and the elector gets the maximum number of votes, takes away all the electoral votes of that state. So in Indiana, it's red. All the electoral votes in the state, which are 11 in number, have gone to Donald Trump. Joining me now, Professor Nadia. She's the professor of political theory in Columbia University. Joining us live, Professor Nadia, many thanks for speaking with us this morning. One state results projections are being shown by CNN at the moment. Of course, this is too early at the moment to state what is happening on the ground, as voting also still continues, I believe, in some of the areas. But from the numbers that we are seeing, who are stepping out to vote, in many of the places, records have been broken. Does it indicate some sort of a desire for change which could go against the incumbent here, Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, the question of Indiana is not the final issues. I mean, we need to wait for Florida and Pennsylvania in particular.
Correct.
And then also other states like Michigan and so on and so forth. Even Texas can be a problem. But so there is a split country. The country is very polarized. It's very hard to say whether the majority of American electors want to go with Biden rather than Trump. It's so hard to decide on these two candidates because although they seem to be opposite, and they are opposite because Trump made the campaign for and against himself. He defined himself as the only object of the campaign, pro-Trump, against Trump. There are no other issues but Trump, for or against. These may be, for some people, good, those who have clear ideas, those who stay with or against, in any case, the so-called, faithful partisans. But for the large majority, the so-called medium voters, these can be very disturbing. And thus, it's very hard to say now what will be the best possible outcome of this. Only Indiana called for Trump.
Absolutely. I mean, nothing depends on Indiana clearly because it is the swing states that will largely determine who comes to the White House. And as you're rightly pointing out, Florida and Pennsylvania being extremely important at the moment. From the projections that are coming in, it appears to be a close fight in Florida as well. And last time we do remember that once Donald Trump had taken the 29 electoral votes in Florida, his victory was pretty much sealed against Hillary Clinton. In that context, Florida has a lot of Indian American population as well. Let me just bring that in over here because this is a swing state. The contest is close. Does every vote count? And therefore, this small section of people, really just above a lakh there, will that also possibly make a difference?
Well, you're right in this. They can make a difference also because the vice of Biden, Kamala Harris, has a kind of attractions for minorities, generally much more than Biden himself. So this can make a difference. But I tend to be very prudent in this case and not to be so, convinced now that things are going easily for Biden. It's very hard. I myself, comparing myself now and last time with Hillary Clinton, when I was very optimistic until the end, and I learned to be very cautious because we really don't know, even the projections they are. So we know, for instance, now that the number of voters are very high. Perhaps it's the last huge big turnout since the last 120 years, yet also the Republicans go to vote, not only the Democrats. So it's very hard to base these projections over, trends
Fair
that
enough.
are...
Yes, fair enough, Professor Nadia. Your point there taken. Just stay on with us. Let's quickly take a look at some of the other possibilities that America is bracing for at the moment. And certainly one of those is the possibility of unrest in case of political uncertainty. What is it like for the moment on the ground? How's the police bracing up for the situation? Here are the details.
While some consider Wisconsin to be a battleground state, Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich expects the battles will be kept between the candidates.
Election Day is a pretty important day in our democracy as a country, and so it's a time for us all to come together and exercise our constitutional right to vote, and I think that's a pretty great thing.
Other cities across the United States have taken measures to prevent civil unrest on Election Day. Genrich says Green Bay has an appropriate security plan in place.
With respect to those polling locations, the 16 across the city of Green Bay, but also our central count. So we feel very comfortable with the plan that we have in place.
The National Guard has more than 400 members assisting at the polls, but they won't be in uniform and they won't be armed.
Their role is simply to serve the same duties as a traditional poll worker would.
While the Wisconsin National Guard has been requested to help at polling places on Election Day, they have not been requested to help with civil unrest, but say they're there if they're needed.
We're certainly always in close contact with officials all across the state. And would be ready if needed for any kind of response in any Wisconsin community. But at this time, we don't have any request for assistance for civil unrest support.
Mayor Genrich expects voters to keep it civil, but says police are prepared for all contingencies. In Green Bay, Charlie Rubeski, Fox 11 News.
Joining us now with the very latest from Ground Zero, from America, Pavni Mittal is joining us from New York. Manisha Gandhi is joining us from Texas. Good morning to both of you. Good evening, rather, over there. Pavni, I want to come first to you. What is happening at the moment, Pavni, in New York? Any projections that are reflecting at the moment? Of course, we know that New York is one of the states that votes blue.
Good evening, good evening. Yes, actually, so New York is really not really a surprise. You know, like you said, Indiana, we knew it was going to go red. New York is something that we know is going to go blue. So that's not really the thing. But, you know, I'm here at Times Square, and I have sort of a deja vu that I'd like to share. You know, 4 years ago, I was reporting right here, you know, in 2016, and this place was packed. You know, this is pre-pandemic, so you had all of that. And today you have, you know, if I can just take you around, you can see there's a lot more press than there are people. Of course, this has to do with the fact that there are not many tourists coming here. And also the fact that New York is not paying host to both the candidates. Last year you had, you know, the Trump headquarters and the Hillary Clinton headquarters barely a couple of miles away from each other. So it's a very, very different scene, and people here are very nervous. We have a broadcast from ABC, which is where we're getting all our information. But the other thing that's really sticking out over here is that below all these glitzy and glamorous sort of billboards, you have, you know, retailers that have boarded up. You can see it over there. You can see some Ray-Ban ones. You can see, you know, a lot of the H&M store. They've all boarded up because there is anticipation of unrest. You know, there's a lot of police vehicles that have been employed across the city. So retailers who've had a terrible year and have seen violence in the summer are not taking any chances.
All right, Pavni and Manisha are going to stay with us. CNN reporter Emily Schmidt is joining us from the Trump headquarters in D.C. Many thanks, Emily, for joining us. Good evening. Take us through what we are picking up at the moment from the ground about both the polling and the voting that and the counting that has started in many of the states, some reflecting results as well, or at least projections, for instance, Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana, not a surprise. Not only is it a traditionally red state and a state that we expected those 11 electoral votes would go to the Republicans, but also remember Indiana is the home state of Vice President Mike Pence, and so very strong roots and ties there. But Maha, it was interesting a few minutes ago you said the race towards 270, which of course is the magic number that you need to get to be president, but right now it's a race for months, and it's certainly a sprint in the last few days before the campaign ends. But on Election Day, it actually slows in some ways, almost to a crawl, as now we start to watch these numbers come in some case, you know, precinct by precinct. And it's very difficult to watch because what may look to be a strong surge when you put it into perspective is only one little bit of it. So right now, many Americans on the East Coast, now the polls have closed, and so they're just starting to sit and wait for the results. Voting continues in other parts of the country, and so we are told to expect a long evening. It is not yet clear if Joe Biden and President Trump will speak tonight. We've received different information on that. This has for months been told to us to be a wait and see. We don't know when we will hear the results of where this election may be headed.
Right, Emily, but under these circumstances, more than ever, the swing states become even more crucial. We are hearing that Florida seems to be a tight contest. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You mentioned the number, and it's a magic number, 29 electoral college votes in Florida. Trump, of course, took it from Hillary Clinton last time in 2016. This is a huge fight. When you take a look at how many times President Trump, since about August, has been to Florida, 10 times. That number, of course, higher than Joe Biden, who took a different approach towards campaigning, did much more virtually than those large in-person sessions that we saw Donald Trump doing. But Florida is a key prize. There is no doubt that if you can nab those 29 electoral college votes, it puts you much closer towards the magic 270. However, the Biden campaign has also laid out today saying they believe that if they had to, they certainly don't want to, but they believe there is still a path towards 270 even if they lost Florida, even, they say, if they lost Florida and Pennsylvania. But that is certainly a path towards 270 that gets much more narrow, much more precarious. They are hoping that is not the situation. Certainly the Trump campaign is feeling that they have done the work, that they've done the groundwork in Florida. They are hoping that the numbers will pay off for them.
Emily, many thanks for getting us all those details from DC and putting that into perspective as well, which is very crucial at the moment. Let me go across to Manisha Gandhi. Manisha, Emily is just pointing out polling on East Coast has closed. West Coast people are continuing to poll at the moment. What's the situation like, first of all, as far as polling is concerned in Texas? Has it closed already? And secondly, any indications or any projections that are already being put forth? Because Texas is also a toss-up, a battleground state this time.
So the polling is still going on. There's a few more minutes left. And it has been a little bit slow because Texas literally just voted early in large numbers. They broke their total number from 2016. So everybody voted early. And as far as projection, no, this is a neck-to-neck race here. And it's going to be probably tomorrow when we know really where Texas voted. And as you know, there's been a controversy about drive-through ballots, 100,000 and more. They're being challenged by the Republicans, and the federal judge has tossed the lawsuit. But I'm told that Republicans are going to re-challenge that drive-through ballot situation.
And that's what number of ballots, Manisha, if you can put that into perspective, which is being challenged once again by the Republicans?
130,000 that voted drive-through due to COVID. The county clerk made that, allocation so people who are older and are fearful of going to live voting can just drive through and vote.
All right, Manisha, stay on with us. Let me go back for a bit to Pavni, getting more details. All right, before that, let's quickly take an update, and then I will go across to Pavni Mittal as well, because on the East Coast, on Pavni's side, the polling has already closed. On the West Coast, polling still continuing. In Texas, as Manisha is pointing out, also polling is just about to end. Texas is also an important state, and she's pointing out that the drive-through ballots, which was tossed out by the court, is going to once again be challenged by the Republicans. Meanwhile, let's talk about Florida, which is a battleground state, the swing state, and one Republican bastion that Joe Biden aims to flip. What is the difference between 2016 and today? CNN's John King breaks it down for us.
Florida is always a presidential battleground. Here's a big difference in 2020 compared to 2016. It is now President Trump's home state. He changed his registration from New York 2016. He will vote in Florida in 2020. When you look at the map, three things about Florida. Number one, the farther south you go, the further north you get. Meaning, down here in Palm Beach County, in Broward County, and in Miami-Dade County, you have a lot of retirees who started in the Northeast, more liberal, more Democratic voters. That's why you see it as blue. Joe Biden must run it up down here on the Southeast coast among voters who tend to be Democrats. A lot of them tend to be from the Northeast. Number two, President Trump must run it up northern Florida. You're in the north, but it votes like the South, Georgia and Alabama. These counties here, look at some of these counties from back in 2016. You just pull up some of the margins. Yes, not a lot of votes, but look how big the numbers are. The president must run it up again. The Trump base must turn out in smaller, rural, working-class communities. Then you have the competition in the central part of the state, and this used to be, call it a battle for independence. I would call it now a battle for the suburbs. What happens in Orlando? Do the Democrats win not only in Orlando, but in the growing suburbs? And if there's one place you want to watch on Election Day, it was key back in 2016. One of the first signs President Trump's voters were coming out, Pinellas County, the home of St. Petersburg, to the west of Tampa, again, a suburban area here, key for the president 4 years ago, but it was very close. Will Joe Biden perform better in the suburbs? That will be a key test in battleground Florida.
Another CNN projection that is out now. Vermont has been won by Joe Biden. So after Indiana, now projections for Vermont as well. Both the candidates, it appears, have won one state each. Indiana, of course, has 11 electoral votes. At the moment, Joe Biden has also opened his account with a Vermont win. Now, these, of course, are states that go to the red or the blue side, that is the Republicans or the Democrats. Not a big surprise here, but really the fight is heating up in some of the swing states, specifically Florida, which we were just pointing out. But nonetheless, at the moment, what we are seeing is that projections are coming in. And right now, at the moment, Joe Biden has won 3 electoral votes because Vermont only has 3 electoral votes. Remember, the electoral votes of each state are decided according to the population. Every 10 years, it's reviewed. At the moment, as per electoral votes, which are 538 in number, and the minimum that a candidate has to get to make it to the White House is 270. At the moment, Joe Biden at 3 electoral votes, Donald Trump at 11 electoral votes. Donald Trump has won Indiana, Joe Biden has won Vermont. Let me go across to Manisha Gandhi and Pavni Mittal, both of them joining us with the very latest from New York. Pavni Mittal from New York and Manisha Gandhi from Texas. Manisha, I want to come to you now. Of course, the electoral votes from Vermont that Joe Biden has picked up are very few, 3. But at the moment, both at least winning one state each. But that doesn't seem to be a surprise, really. These are states that traditionally go to the Democrats and Republicans, Manisha?
Yes, they are actually, and I think the crucial states are going to be Texas, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia. These battleground states are going to be really the crucial states and which candidate it goes to. Texas has 38 electoral votes, and it is the second largest state in the country. So it will be very important for the candidates to win Texas.
Absolutely. And as you're pointing out, that the other 2 projections that have at the moment been declared are those that traditionally go to the Republicans or Democrats. No surprises there. As we are stressing, it's the swing states which are certainly going to be very important because this is a very close contest in that Florida is certainly going to be important, which is a tight contest at the moment. As Manisha is pointing out, Pennsylvania is another swing state that's going to be very important, and that is why you saw both Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the last few days of the campaign really going out there in the swing states, meeting with people, going to rallies and projecting themselves as the perfect candidate for the White House. Clearly, the stress was on the swing states, considering how important they are. Remember, last time around, Donald Trump had won at least 5 of those swing states, including Florida and Wisconsin, that really did matter in the race to the White House. Meanwhile, as far as Joe Biden is concerned, we are also now getting another projection from Ohio. It's suggesting that Joe Biden is, in fact, leading in Ohio as well. With that, we're taking a very quick break. We'll be back with a lot more as the fight heats up in America. Polling going on still on the West Coast. On the East Coast, though, the polling has wrapped up and the figures are now being projected slowly and gradually. However, it's going to be a really long night there in America. Taking a quick break. We'll be back with a lot more. Stay with us.
We get the vaccine as citizens of India, December and first quarter of 2021.
They only speak to one channel.
Look at the kind of coverage a Taimur gets today. I don't get that much of coverage.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination. The biggest names in the business.
Sushant, you had all the potential to become something more than Shah Rukh Khan in Bollywood. Alas, you are no more.
We have taken only legal action which has been confirmed by Honorable Supreme Court.
Top doctors.
And it's not a race who gets a vaccine first. It's about who gets a vaccine that can control the virus and actually manage this epidemic in a safe way.
When they speak.
The Democrats have clearly said that they would be changing a lot of foreign policy.
They only speak to one channel.
It's not interested in damaging the party in any way. Rather, we want to strengthen it, revive it, re-energize it.
When the flag, is on your chest, you feel great that you played for India and I won a medal for India.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination.
New India is dynamic, bold, and assertive. There will be fights, debates, and differences. But when it comes to my country, there can be no compromise. India will always come first. The right stand.
The biggest names in the business.
Prabhu Ram's Ram Mandir. But we are celebrating the ethos of India.
There should be a beginning. It should be a fuel to create a better India.
I don't see today anything which can benefit only one community.
When they speak.
It is a major victory for democracy in India.
135 करोड़ लोगों की भावनाएं साकार हो रही हैं। राम मंदिर बनाने के साथ-साथ राम राज्य इस राष्ट्र में लाने के लिए लगाऊंगा।
They only speak to one channel.
We have promises that we made that have to be kept, and I will leave no stone unturned to live up to those promises.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination.
News is about stories. Not about shouting matches or talking heads. We're putting the news back where it belongs. No debates, no bias, just the news. Helping you cut through the clutter. Brass tacks.
The biggest names in the business.
We've got a threat on the northern side. So therefore, we have to get a weapon system fully integrated to do multiple missions altogether.
The regional parties as well as the national parties have to now come up with new kind of politics.
When they speak.
You can't just shoot something into the air and say we're going to double without saying this is how we're going to get there. And that's what's missing in this document.
They only speak to one channel.
When I was trying to do my transition back to films, and it was like, you stay in television, you don't come, this is our territory and we won't let you succeed.
Attempt that has been made to suppress the investigation.
Maybe it's better this case is handled by the CBI.
I want to know what happened with Sushant, that's it.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination. The biggest names in the business.
It's important to look at this not just in the context of India-Chinese relations, but as part of the pattern of Chinese behavior on its periphery.
Top doctors.
The type of responses that we're seeing are the antibodies which bind to the virus and neutralize it so it can't infect cells.
Even though there has been an immune response generated by this vaccine, we have to test whether or not it will, in fact, protect us against the virus.
When they speak.
We get the vaccine as citizens of India, December and first quarter of 2021.
They only speak to one channel.
Look at the kind of coverage a Taimur gets today. I don't get that much of coverage.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination. The biggest names in the business.
Sushant, you had all the potential to become something more than Shah Rukh Khan in Bollywood. Alas, you are no more.
We have taken only legal action which has been confirmed by Honorable Supreme Court.
Top doctors.
Welcome back. It's going to be a long night in America as polling and counting continue in the very crucial and consequential U.S. presidential election. At the moment, it seems like an extremely tight contest with one state each at the moment in the kitty of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, though the number of electoral votes at the moment for Donald Trump are 11 and for Joe Biden are 3 with Indiana and Vermont. But the big question for India is who will be better for the country, for relations between US and India. So here's a split up that we've done for you, looking at some of the crucial aspects. Checkmating China, who's going to be better for India? If Joe Biden comes to the White House, he may tone down the rhetoric against China. As far as Donald Trump is concerned, he's likely to continue the strong rhetoric against China. But the support against China for India is likely to remain, as US officials have tried to point out. Meanwhile, heat on Pakistan, unlikely to be as tough as Trump. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has taken the toughest stand against Pakistan in years, calling out the kind of dubious manner in which Pakistan has dealt with the issue of terrorism. Now, trade issues. As far as Joe Biden is concerned, he may review some of the tariffs imposed by Donald Trump, which have been detrimental to India's interest. As far as Donald Trump is concerned, it does appear that he will continue with his protectionist measures that he has shown in the past 4 years and continue to be very strong about the issue of trade and take on other countries like India as well over the issue. And finally, the issue of immigration policy. Joe Biden has often called out the immigration policies of Donald Trump, saying that he views them as racist. As far as Donald Trump is concerned, he's likely to continue with his crackdown on immigrants, on immigration policies, as well as H-1B visa. The restrictions are likely to continue. These are some of the important aspects that will determine the relationship between India and the United States. Let me bring in our guests who are joining us on the show this morning. Professor Karthik Ramakrishna, he's the Professor of Political Science at University of California. Joining us also on the show, Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, Professor of American Studies and Rector of JNU. Let me first go across to our guest who's joining us from America. Professor, first of all, what is the sense you're getting on the ground? Because at the moment, of course, it's too early to say who's going to make it to the White House, but what is the sense that you're getting?
Well, there are a few signs to look for. By the way, greetings from California, where the polls are still open, and so it's going to take a while, even in terms of election day. But you have all of these absentee ballots that'll take some time to count. But from what we're seeing, it's a high turnout election. And typically, when you have high turnout, that means that younger voters, lower income voters, and racial minorities in the United States are more likely to vote. And all of those constituencies tend to vote Democrat more so than Republican. So this looks like a good sign for Joe Biden. We're just seeing the results from the first set of eastern states.
Yes.
Florida looks very competitive, and it looks like President Trump might indeed win Florida like he did in 2016. But you see some other states like North Carolina and Georgia that are much more competitive this year. So it's gonna be a long night, and we might not know the winner even after tomorrow.
But California, Professor, votes the Democrats. I mean, that's not going to be something surprising, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, but you have Nevada, so that ends an hour before California, and then what'll be important to see. We're paying so much attention to the presidential election. The Senate control is likely to shift to the Democratic side as well, so that's where turnout matters. But yes, when it comes to some of the states where it might drag on, the state of Pennsylvania didn't start counting its mail-in ballots until today. So Pennsylvania will take many days to finish their count. And you have other states in the Midwest, including Wisconsin, for example, that'll take a few days to finish their count.
Let me go across now to Professor who's joining us from India here, Professor Chintamani. Professor Chintamani, I want to take up the issue now of relations between India and the United States. Considering this is a tight contest, we're looking at either either situation at the moment. If Donald Trump makes a comeback, how is it likely to be for India? And B, if Joe Biden comes to the White House, are things likely to improve on some counts like trade? What is your assessment?
Number one, we have to understand that from year 2000 onwards, Indo-US strategic partnership is always on the upward side of the graph. It is going up and up and up with a little bit of hiccups in between. So I would suggest that whoever may enter the Oval Office in the White House, Indo-US relationship, the fundamentals of the relationship will continue to remain the same. However, madam, the way you explain the issues like immigration and the economy and trade and Pakistan and China, they're very well said. You put all the important items on the table.
All right.
Now,
okay. Professor Chintamani, I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you there for a bit. We're getting some projections from CNN, so we're cutting across live to CNN for the moment.
It's not much, right? We don't have much yet. Small county here, small county here. The most significant vote center here is Dallas. So Joe Biden is leading in the state of Texas right now because we have some votes out of Dallas. I just want to remind you with the history here, though, that alone doesn't mean Joe Biden is not competitive in Texas tonight. We're going to be at this for a few hours, but one little blue spot there is not enough to overcome what usually happens in Texas, which is this. So strap in at home, brew extra coffee. We're going to have to go through all this as we do it. But we'll watch it. Those are real votes. Those are all real votes. Everything you see on this map are real votes. It's just we get them in different orders from different states. We need to be careful and calmly walk through it. In the states where we're going, though, that Ohio is blue right now, we're up to about a third of the vote. That's significant. That means Joe Biden, we don't know if he's going to win Ohio, but we know he's competitive in Ohio. And we know that Donald Trump, right now, Joe Biden is ahead 57 to 42. We know that Donald Trump won Ohio pretty comfortably 4 years ago. So, again, win or lose Ohio, there's a lesson in this that Joe Biden is more competitive than Hillary Clinton in these industrial states. And this would be a big one. No Republican has won the presidency in modern times without winning Ohio. So that Joe Biden is competitive here is a source of angst right now at the Trump campaign headquarters. Now, they know more about this, and they know that these small grays are going to fill in, but more of these small grays are going to fill in red, but more of them have been just in the last few minutes, and Joe Biden's still a lead. This is what I mean. This is what Donald Trump does in small-town America. 78%, right? 62 to 1,600. Not a ton of votes, but if you do it here and here and here, and you start running it up, that's what happens, right? Especially in the ones where you're getting 70s and more. You come over here and you come over here. You're getting 68, 70%. You start to run up the votes. But Democrats, Joe Biden in the Biden campaign, number one, this is a must. Democrats always win Cuyahoga County, but look how much he's winning it by. About 4, again, we've been waiting for a while. We're at 42% here, and we'll see if it evens out. You have Cleveland, African-American turnout in the city, and then the suburbs around it. The encouraging part at this moment, and we'll see if it sticks, is not just that Cuyahoga County, Cleveland is blue, but that Lake County to the northeast is blue, suburban Cleveland right there. Close, but still, you're getting in the suburbs, and then you move over here to Lorain County. You see Hillary Clinton carries this, but it's essentially a split. Right, 47-47, a split there. Joe Biden right now on top by a more significant margin. These are the suburbs. There are more people. It's the 9th largest county. There's 88 in the state of Ohio. This is also encouraging to the Biden campaign when you come over here. Not just that you're winning. Democrats are supposed to win here. But again, with about half the vote counted, we'll see if it changes. Again, you get early votes. You get in-person voting. They come in different ways. Sometimes you get a big dump and it changes everything. But 62% right there, you come back. Pretty close split in this county. This is blue collar, work with your hands, America. It used to be reliable Democratic votes. This is where Trump cut in deeply to the Democratic Party right here. So now you come out here, we're going to watch Ohio come back to 2020. It's a great race. This tells you, no matter how this ends, this tells you that this is a very different campaign than we had 4 years ago, and that Joe Biden is more competitive than Hillary Clinton. You see Michigan votes, you see Pennsylvania votes. That's it right there. Joe Biden can be president if he just changes what happened 4 years ago in the industrial Midwest. But it's everywhere. He's in play everywhere. Let's pull up the red down here. 11,000, 28, 117,000, I'm sorry, Trump vote lead right now, 50% to 49% if you round up there. And we're starting to get the panhandle, right? So you come all the way to the west, Escambia County, Pensacola, 53, so 54 to 44. You go back in time. That's a little, Trump's underperforming a little bit there percentage-wise. 88,000 votes, 69,000 votes. So that could be significant. This is the most populous county here along the Panhandle right here. You keep an eye on that. It's red for Trump, as it should be. But remember, Joe Biden is underperforming in Miami-Dade, or at least he was. We'll check on it in a minute. If you're underperforming places, you need to do better elsewhere. Could be some votes there to be made up there. Then you start moving across the Panhandle. And again, this is what the president does in smaller counties. And this one's a medium-sized county. It's 30. It's in the middle of Florida. 67 counties in Florida. This one's 30th. You keep coming across. This is what the president does, and you rack up the votes here. And if you pull it out into context, there are a lot of them, right? So you come across here. This is Alabama. This is Georgia. This part of Florida votes like the South, except for the cities. Now, we were waiting earlier for Leon County. This is Tallahassee, the state capital, the suburbs around it. You see blue right here, 63% for Biden, 60%. You might say that's not a big deal. In a state as tight as Florida, those little margins, if you can perform, again, especially if you're struggling in one place, you have to overperform somewhere else. So you see, you're watching that play out there. Again, though, the president's still 112, 113,000 if you round him up. Earlier, I was talking about, this is 2016. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the 2016 map. This is Duval County here. It was red 4 years ago. It is blue right now. You come back up. I'm looking at the 2016 total, thinking it was this year's total, because that's the way it always is in Florida. It's that close. 10 million votes are about to be cast. We're really close to 10 million votes, and 131,000 separates them right now. But Duval County is still blue for the Democrats, 51 to 47. That's the suburbs. Donald Trump makes it up in the rural areas. And then we're going to come across here. I just want to see where the marginal areas. And then we're going to come across here. I just want to see where the margins are. One of the things you get, at this point, Florida's returning so quickly, you're starting to figure out what's still out. Where can you find more votes? If you're going to make up 100,000, which is the lead right now, where can you get it? Orange County, growing, a lot of votes here, but about 93% of the estimate in. We'll see what the numbers are. We'll see what more votes come in. 383,000 here for Joe Biden right now, 329. So that's 50,000 votes. He's running ahead of Hillary Clinton, 50,000 plus from 4 years ago. The turnout's up everywhere, though, so the president's numbers are up, too. You're going county by county in the campaign war room. This is significant as you come across. Again, Hillsborough County, Tampa in the suburbs, Pinellas County, St. Pete in the suburbs along the coast. This was blue. I mean, this was red 4 years ago. Very close, 49.2, 49.5 to 49.2, 2,000 votes. 2,000 votes there. 2,000 votes matter in a close state. And again, I want to do this again in reverse order this time. Palm Beach County, almost all counted. 56 for Joe Biden, come back in time. 56 for Hillary Clinton, so you're matching it up. Might not be good enough. Hillary Clinton lost the state. Come back to 2020. You come down here, 66%, second largest population center, second largest county in terms of people in Florida, 66. Come back in time, 66. You're essentially matching what happened 4 years ago. The vote count, 553. 562, turnout's up a little bit, but you're essentially matching the percentages there. And then you move down here, and this is the trouble sign. Again, we're not done. We're not done counting in Florida. Joe Biden can make it up somewhere else. But 54% Miami-Dade, 579 to 486,000. If you look at it there, number one, this is your biggest county in Florida. This is where the most votes are away from more. But Hillary Clinton won this in a landslide. She walked out of here, 624 to 333. Hillary Clinton built up a huge lead in Miami-Dade, and she still lost the state. So Joe Biden is they're looking at that in Biden campaign headquarters, wondering what's left. You'll see what else comes in. You can make it up. It's a big population center. A lot of votes can come in. You can change the math, but you're not going to get back to that percentage. Again, 63.
All right, so that is an explanation of some of the very crucial states, the swing states. He was explaining Florida to us. We are also getting projections at the moment as far as Florida is concerned. The race there is tight, and that is one of the determining factors. It has 29 electoral votes. We'll talk more about that, but right now we're taking a very quick break.
मंदिर बनाने के साथ-साथ राम राज्य इस राष्ट्र में लाने के लिए लगाऊंगा.
They only speak to one channel.
We have promises that we made that have to be kept, and I will leave no stone unturned to live up to those promises.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination.
News is about stories, not about shouting matches or talking heads. We're putting the news back where it belongs. No debates, no bias, just the news. Helping you cut through the clutter. Brass tacks.
The biggest names in the business.
We've got a threat on the northern side. So therefore, we have to get a weapon system fully integrated to do multiple missions altogether.
The regional parties as well as the national parties have to now come up with new kind of politics.
When they speak,
you can't just shoot something into the air and say we're going to double without saying this is how we're going to get there. And that's what's missing in this document.
They only speak to one channel.
When I was trying to do my transition back to films, and it was like, you stay in television, you don't come, this is our territory, and we won't let you succeed.
Attempt that has been made to suppress the investigation.
Maybe it's better this case is handled by the CBI.
I want to know what happened with Sushant, that's it.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination. The biggest names in the business.
It's important to look at this not just in the context of India-Chinese relations, but as part of the pattern of Chinese behavior on its periphery.
Top doctors.
The type of responses that we're seeing are the antibodies which bind to the virus and neutralize it so it can't infect cells.
Even though there has been an immune response generated by this vaccine, we have to test whether or not it will, in fact, protect us against the virus.
When they speak,
we get the vaccine as citizens of India, December and first quarter of 2021.
They only speak to one channel.
Look at the kind of coverage a Taimur gets today. I don't get that much of coverage.
CNN News 18, your #1 news destination. The biggest names in the business.
Sushant, you had all the potential to become something more than Shah Rukh Khan in Bollywood. Alas, you are no more.
We have taken only legal action which has been confirmed by Honorable Supreme Court.
Top doctors.
And it's not a race who gets a vaccine first. It's about who gets a vaccine that can control the virus and actually manage this epidemic in a safe way.
When they speak,
the Democrats have clearly said that they would be changing a lot of foreign policy.
They only speak to one channel.
It's not interested in damaging the party in any way. Rather, we want to strengthen it, revive it, re-energize it.
You know, when the flag, is on your chest, you feel great that you played for India and I won a medal for India.
CNN News 18.